Hello and a warm welcome to all of you for the video lecture series at SAE Kundwa. Today I am going to start with a subject solid state devices and circuit. Before that, let me introduce myself. I am Seema Rajput, working as an assistant professor in Sinhagad Academy of Engineering College Kundwa since from 2005. So basically we are going to start with the subject SSDC. This subject focuses on the different devices like diodes. BJT stands for bipolar junction transistor, then FETs stands for field effect transistor, MOSFET, that is metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor, its different characteristics, its application, and so on. The syllabus of this SSDC covers near about 6 units. Unit 1 is diodes and field effect transistor. Unit 2 is MOSFET circuit. Unit 3 is bipolar junction transistor and its application. Unit 4 is frequency response. Unit 5th is feedback and oscillator. Unit 6th is large signal and low frequency amplifiers. The details of the syllabus are given as follows. Today we are going to start with Unit 3, that is bipolar junction transistor and its application. In this chapter we are going to cover the different biasing technique, then DC load line concept, then the different quotient point concept, and so on. Let's start with the introduction of BJT, that stands for bipolar junction transistor. The pictorial history of transistor says that in the eras of 1941, 48, 55, the transistor size is very large. Now, since from 1997, the transistor size go on reducing. That is the need of today's era now, because what we want is to fit so many transistors on a single chip, and that is possible only when the transistor will be reduced in size. The semiconductor devices like diode can't amplify a signal, so that they are having a restricted area of application. So the next development of the semiconductor device is a transistor, that is called as BJT. Now it's a 3-terminal device in which the first terminal is a base terminal, second terminal is a collector terminal, and the third terminal is a emitter terminal. So base terminal is normally called as the control terminal, where now a small signal amplitude can be applied, and at the collector junction we are getting a large power signal. So we can say that a large power signal can be obtained from a small power signal. So BJT is a basic building block of so many devices like a oscillator, a regulator, starting from a logic gate to a digital computer system. There are so many advantages of transistor. First advantage is that it is having small size and minimum weight. Second one is that highly automated manufacturing processes are required, so that it provides very low per unit cost. Third one, it will providing lower possible operating voltages. Next one, no warm-up period is required after power application. Then it provides lower power dissipation and provides higher energy efficiency. It provides higher reliability and greater physical ruggedness. As the devices are having advantages and disadvantages, like that transistor is also having its own disadvantages, but the list of disadvantages is very small as compared to the advantages. The disadvantage of transistor is that it can't operate at the voltages higher than 1 kilovolt, and the second one is that the electron mobility is higher in the vacuum tube than that of a normal BJT. So why it is called a BJT? That's now the question. BJT means bipolar junction transistor. Whenever the conduction in a transistor takes place because of electrons as well as holes, then that is called as a bipolar junction transistor. But when the conduction in the transistor takes place only because of the majority charge carrier, that is either electrons or holes, then that is called as unipolar device. The best example of unipolar device is FET, that is called as field effect transistor. There are two types of transistor. First one is PNP transistor and the second one is NPN transistor. In PNP transistor, the majority charge carriers are holes, and in NPN transistor, the majority charge carriers are electrons. Let's now see the introduction of emitter, base and collector in a PNP and NPN transistor. When we consider these three terminal, emitter terminal, it is a region which is situated at one side of the transistor. It is a heavily doped region where the electrons are emitted from the section. Then let's come to the second section, that is called as a middle terminal, which is a base terminal, which will be forming now two junctions, one to the emitter section and one to the collector section. Then it is having a lightly doped region and it is very thin in nature. Third one is a collector terminal. It is situated at either side of the transistor, and it collects the electron which has been emitted from the emitter section, and it is having the intermediate doping between the base and emitter section. These are the symbols of PNP transistor and NPN transistor. So as per the symbol presentation, there is only one difference in the symbolic presentation. If you observe carefully, NPN and PNP are having three terminals, base, emitter and collector. But now in NPN, the arrow indication is towards the emitter section, but in PNP, the arrow indication is towards the base section. That is invert. The second concept is unbiased transistor and biased transistor concept. In an unbiased transistor, when no external DC application is there, then at that time there will not be any current flowing through the transistor. So here if you can observe in the figure, it consisting of NPN doping, that is called as N-type of semiconductor connected to the emitter side, then P-type of semiconductor connected to the base side, and N-type of semiconductor connected to the collector side. But here only the depletion region can be formed, but the current flow is not possible. Now let's move to the important concept of transistor biasing. So the first question is that, what do you mean by transistor biasing? Whenever any external DC voltages are applied to the transistor, then that is called as the biasing. And it is obviously a DC biasing concept, so that external DC voltages are produced. So depending on the application, a transistor can be operated in either one of the region. That three regions of operations are cutoff region, active region and saturation region. Now to operate the transistor in three different regions, the junctions must be forward bias or reverse bias. So we are basically interested in how the transistor is biased in three different regions of operation. So the first region of operation is cutoff region, in which now base to emitter junction is reverse bias, collector to base junction is reverse bias, and here now your transistor acts like an open switch. In the second region of saturation, base to emitter junction is forward bias, then collector to base junction is forward bias, and the application of the transistor, it acts like a closed switch. The third one is the active region, in which base to emitter junction is forward bias, collector to base junction is reverse bias, and the transistor acts like an amplifier in this region. We are interested in transistor biasing in the active region. Here now, if we want the transistor to act like an amplifier, the base to emitter junction is forward bias and the collector to base junction is reverse bias. So in the cutoff region, the transistor must be fully off. In the saturation region, transistor must be fully on, and in the active region, it must be in between saturation and cutoff. Start with the transistor operation in the active region. Now as we say, as the emitter terminal is connected to the negative supply of the battery, the electrons which are present in the emitter section will be repelled away from the emitter, and they will be try to recollect towards the holes which are present in the base section. So that will constitute the first current, that is called as emitter current. Now whatever the electrons which has been emitted from the emitter are collected in the hole, which will be recombined with the holes which are present over there, that will constitute the second current, that is called as base current. Now the third part is about the collector current. Whatever the electrons which are present over there in the base section, they will be try to attract towards the positive supply of the battery from the collector section. Now that will be going to start the flow of collector current, that is called as IC. Now this will be constituting the three currents, that is called as emitter current, then base current and collector current, and the summation of IB plus IC will be giving you current emitter, that is IE. The summation of IB plus IC is equal to IE, that is emitter current. In this diagram now, the direction of the conventional current is shown. Conventional current always flow from the higher potential to the lower potential of the battery supply, which has been shown over here. Now let's start with the concept of DC load line. There is one procedure to plot the DC load line. Let's consider a common emitter configuration, in which now we are going to consider only the collector section from the figure. Now if you observe the figure carefully, and if we apply KVL to the collector loop, which will be from the collector terminal to the emitter terminal. So after the application of KVL, I can write over here VCC minus ICRC minus VCE is equal to 0. After application of KVL to the collector loop, I can write VCC minus VCE minus ICRC is equal to 0. Now if I rearrange the equation, I can write IC equal to minus 1 by RC into VCE plus VCC by RC. If I compare this equation with a straight line equation y equal to mx plus c, if I can compare this with straight line equation of y equal to mx plus c, I can write over here y stands for IC, that is the collector current, m stands for the slope minus 1 by RC, then x stands for VCE, that is collector to emitter voltage, and c stands for the constant, that is VCC by RC. So IC is given over here minus 1 by RC into VCE plus VCC by RC.